Welcome to another episode of the Lodhi Roundup. My name is Majid Lodhi and I'm a real estate broker here in Toronto, Ontario. Today we have a special episode where we're live and doing a tour of a house. Why are we doing that? In real estate, home inspections are very, very important. And the guest that I have today here with me, Tim, he has been part of my business for the last 10 years, my main house inspector and a very integral part in my business. Welcome to the Lodhi Roundup, Tim.
Thank you, Majid.
Pleasure to have you on, and thank you for agreeing to do a walkthrough. I know that home inspectors and generally are busy and the market has been obviously up and down, but I know it picks up, and we all realtors always say that home inspections are really, really important. But from a home inspector's point of view, why is home inspection important?
Well, you want to know what's wrong with the house, obviously, if there's anything. So basically, a home inspector will go into depth in regards to, say, heating, plumbing, electrical, structure, roofing, all that kind of stuff, insulation, just to make sure you know what you're getting into, good or bad. If there's anything that needs to be fixed, it can be addressed right away.
And when you do a home inspection, because I know a lot of people or a lot of clients expect you to just open up vaults and check every single thing. So what is covered and what is not covered? What do you look for and what do you not look for briefly?
Well, a home inspection is non-invasive. So it's a visual, using all your senses, tools at hand, just to make sure, for example, foundation issues or roofing issues, leaks, furnace problems, things like that.
So only what you see, right?
Only what you see.
And you can't comment on what you can't see.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like,
so
for example,
not within the walls.
right.
Perfect.
Yes.
Because a lot of people expect us to just tell us everything that's going on in the house, including the walls, and not possible.
Right. Yeah.
We'll start off with the exterior, and I kind of want you to comment on, I believe, spring and fall maintenance and close up, open up stuff, along with what you look for when you come to the house from the
Okay.
exterior.
Okay. Sure.
So,
Basically, when we walk up to a house, well, first, I try to do as much research as possible when the house was built, because that makes me look for different things. For example, if it was built in the 40s or before, then I'm looking for knob and tube wiring. If it's prior to the 1980s, there's always a chance of asbestos. So things like that. Age of the home also determines the roof structure, the housing structure, the type of electrical, plumbing, etc.
perfect. And we have a hose at the front of the property, and this is quite common where we tell people that, hey, when it comes wintertime,
Yes.
you turn it off. When it
You-
comes summertime, you turn it back on. But how does one do that, and why is that important?
It's important because you don't want your lines to freeze, because the hose basically has two valves. The one at the front to obviously water your lawn, wash your car, whatever the case may be, and the one at the back to prevent your lines from freezing in the winter. So you want to, in the winter time, prior to freezing, you want to shut off the inside hose bib, and then you want to come outside and you want to turn the outside hose on, disconnect a hose, because you want any water in that little area to drain out. So it's very important, because if it doesn't, it'll freeze, and freezing expands, and then it may split the pipe.
And that's where you have trouble.
And then that's where you have
And
trouble.
we don't want trouble.
No, we don't.
On the roof, I know this is a three-story townhouse, so we can't really see the top, but when you, or what do you advise people, like how should they just keep an eye on the roof and just maintain it?
Walk down the street a little bit till they can see their roof. Try to get as many angles as possible, because you're looking for missing shingles, any damage, gutters if they're full of leaves, especially in the fall, because number one, missing shingles, potential leaks, and the gutters, if the gutters aren't working properly, what they do is, instead of the water coming down and draining correctly, it's coming down over the gutter towards your foundation.
We don't want that.
We don't want that because that's potential for leaks inside the house.
Perfect. And it started raining, so we didn't plan for this. As far as your downspouts go, right? And I know there's a purpose for this stone here.
Yeah, it's to direct water away from the foundation because you don't want the gutter, or sorry, the downspout pouring water directly into the foundation because
And then if
there's
it's
always
not graded
chance.
right, it goes in.
Correct. So you want always a flow away from the house.
And is it important to have those extenders on, or this is okay?
This is good. Ideally, it should be 4 feet away, but you never see that.
Yeah.
So this is better
So
than nothing.
this stone should be 4 feet away?
Ideally,
Okay.
but this is good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So for the next part, we'll just go inside because it's raining, but we'll start at the garage and talk about the back side of the house. Okay, now we're at the back of the property and looking at this giant AC. Tim.
So the AC unit typically has a lifespan of 15 years. I mean, I've seen AC units go 30, 40 years. The thing about the AC though is you want to make sure it stays clean because you want it to run at full efficiency. So sometimes these units, because they're sucking air in, dust gathers on the fins. So you want to spray them off. And you can actually spray on the inside. It's not going to harm it because, as you can see, it's raining right now and it's fine. So you want to spray that. If you like to cover your unit, I would actually say just cover the top, don't cover the sides.
I was going to ask you that because I see a lot of people covering it and some people don't.
Right.
Why is that important, or why is it?
The
why
whole
does it
idea
matter?
is to protect it.
Okay.
But covering the top only, you're just preventing snow and ice building up inside, but you're also allowing airflow. So any moisture that is in there can escape.
So no rust will
Correct.
come upon.
Yeah.
Okay. And to maintain, or I guess clean the AC, is it okay to just
Oh yeah.
hose it down with
Yeah.
water and we're
I
good?
mean, as you can see, it's in the rain right now. It's fine. But yeah, hosing around just around the outside here. You can spray on the fins on the inside if you can get to it. Some people will take these covers off and vacuum it. Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay.
We'll walk into the garage where it's a bit dry and talk about the garage door. I know a lot of people neglect it and they don't maintain it.
Right.
But why is it important to maintain a garage door, and how does it work along with the sensors?
Okay. So we can do a brief test if you like.
Sure.
Haven't seen this garage door, so I don't know how it's going to work. But if you wouldn't mind going and hitting the close button.
Okay.
All right. So I'm going to check to see if it goes back up, which it does. So that's fantastic. It's about 5 pounds pressure. That's one way to test it. You don't want any more pressure because you can potentially break the garage door.
Okay.
And if you wouldn't mind hitting it once more, what I'll do is I will check the sensors. So I'm just going to put my leg in front. Working perfectly. We're also checking, obviously there's a little bit of damage here where it has hit some kind of force at one point. So that will need repairing or replacing.
Okay. Okay. And as far as making sure that it goes back up, I guess if you have kids or whatever in the house,
It's a safety
always
feature, yes.
perfect. Okay, so we'll head back in and go check the furnace room out and then go upstairs.
Okay.
Let's go. Okay, now we're in the furnace room and checking one of the most important parts of the house that provides heat and cold air in the summer. Tim is opening it up just to give us some more insights as to what you should look for when you do maintain your furnace.
So basically, you don't have to do this, but I do advise a client just to have a look inside a furnace, maybe once a year, just to check for condensation leaks, any rust, and most importantly, your furnace filter. The furnace filter, this particular filter should be changed once every 3 months, just to make sure the furnace is running efficiently and your air is staying reasonably clean.
And there's normally an arrow on the filter. Which way should that be pointed?
The arrow should always be pointing towards the furnace. There's the arrow right there, and it is pointing towards the furnace.
So I think that's important because a lot of people get that mixed up where they don't insert the filter the right way.
Correct. I'm also checking the year of the furnace. This is 2013. The house was built in
14.
14. So it was manufactured in 2013, the 6 months of 2013. Typically, a high efficiency furnace such as this one is good for around 20 years. I do advise clients at the 10-year mark to get a furnace protection plan. It's like CAA for your car, so if anything goes wrong with it, you're covered. And the
Okay.
furnace protection plans usually will allow you a 1-year maintenance inspection where they'll come in, they'll check the furnace, they'll make sure it's running properly.
Perfect.
Okay.
And so people don't really have to open up the whole thing, but they should obviously change the filter. And then
Yes.
once a year, they should open it up just to see there's no condensation.
Correct.
Okay.
Condensation leaks in certain furnaces are one of those things that happen. And you want to make sure you catch it ahead of time if it is going to happen. So yeah, once a year, it doesn't hurt to just look inside the furnace just to make sure everything's okay.
And along with the furnace, I guess while you're closing it up, hot water tanks.
Yes.
Tankless or tank? What's the difference and what's better? If there is.
Tankless are more efficient
Okay.
because they only heat the water as you're using it, whereas a tank, it's constantly got hot water in it. Thank you, sir.
Okay. And as far as usability wise, I guess they're essentially.
There's not much you
Both
can do. I mean, you either have hot water or you don't.
Okay.
Most units are rentals. Personal preference is to buy a unit.
Okay.
It's like I would never rent a furnace
Yeah.
because the cost of the furnace is like 3 times as much as if you were to buy it over a period of 15, 20 years, whatever the case may be. The water heater, I mean, we're checking to make sure it's not leaking. We're checking the condition. We're looking for rust. We're checking connections. We're making sure everything's nice and safe. We're checking the TPR valve is not leaking. And I'm also showing the clients how to turn it up or down.
Okay.
Like if you go on vacation for a couple of weeks, you don't want your tank running, so you just turn it down to what's called vacation mode, and it's running at a very slow speed.
What's an optimal temperature that it should be running at?
The perfect temperature for a water heater is 120 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
I have seen units where it's 140 and up, and then the problem there is, or the concern there, is scalding, especially if you have small children in the home.
Yeah.
Then you don't want them playing with the taps because they can get burnt very easily. Okay?
100%. Can we talk about all those yellow-looking tabs, water turn off and turn on?
So if ever we have a problem in the home and you've got water pouring all over the place, this would be the place you run to, usually on the meter or where it's entering the home. This will shut down the water heater
I'll just move that.
completely. This will the water supply
For the house.
for the whole house.
Okay.
All right. And behind you is the hose shut off for the garage.
Yes.
It is on, but this is the one you would shut off in the fall,
Yes.
prior to the temperatures outside being freezing.
Okay. So you would just turn it off, open the
Yeah.
one from
So
outside.
in this situation, I would probably turn it off, then go outside into the garage, disconnect the hose, and turn the tap on.
So now we turn it off from inside, and I've opened it, and we're good. So we just leave it like that for the winter.
Yes.
Perfect.
There are certain circumstances where you would actually go a step further, besides disconnecting any hose, because you want that water to drain, whereas the hose, if it's connected,
Yes.
the water won't flow. So you want it to flow from this area here,
Yep.
because now we've got it shut off, but there's still water in the tap, and that's the importance of opening the tap outside.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good. So I guess we have covered all the major appliances. Let's talk about the panel quickly.
Okay, so right away I've noticed this is a GFCI, ground fault circuit interrupter. Okay, it's tripped.
Okay,
So this is possibly the outside outlets.
probably.
All right, so ideally you're supposed to check these monthly. Nobody does, but the simple check would be to hit the test button. And then it trips, you have no power at the outlets. These ones are probably the exterior outlets, so then reset. Okay?
Perfect.
The electric panel, so what we're checking when would you like me to open up the panel or no?
No, I think.
Okay, so normally we would open up the panel. We're checking the service size. Insurance companies ask questions about what type of electrical do you have. The wiring type, again, this goes back to the 1980s.
Yes.
Prior to 1980, you would have aluminum wiring, so it would need to be checked by the ESA or a certified electrician. Checking all the breakers, making sure that they're in, and there's another one in the off position. This is the arc fault protectors for the bedroom.
Probably the main floor then.
Yeah, so you have no power at the main floor?
I guess so.
All right,
I
so
haven't checked it in a while.
reset it, you turn it off, and turn it on. Okay, so now we have power again.
So that's if something does trip, we turn it off and turn it back on.
Yeah, so it'll be half tripped like that. Okay, so you turn it all the way off and back on. And if that situation happens, check what's plugged in, because these are designed. If there's a fault in, let's say, I'm old school, a clock radio, shorting out, whatever the case may be. That's why this trips.
Okay.
It's a safety feature. Okay, so yeah, verify that that's working okay. So this is A5 bedroom plugs.
Okay.
So arc fault protectors in a home this age usually are bedroom plugs. Okay, yeah. So we're checking for what's called double taps, which is 2 wires going into 1 breaker, wire sizes compared to breaker sizes, any burn marks which is caused by loose wiring, so it arcs and heats up. So we're checking all that to make sure it's in safe condition.
And is this 100 or 200 amp?
This
How do
is
you
a
find
100
that
amp
out?
service. So usually I can tell from outside, but yes, this is a 100 amp service.
Okay, and then 100 compared to 200, when would you need 200?
Uh,
Why would somebody want to upgrade?
Hot tub, Tesla,
Yes.
yeah. So a
Those
car
are
charger, yes. I
Quite
mean,
common now for the upgrades.
yeah, very important to have 200 amps for something like that.
Cool.
Okay.
All right, I guess that finishes our furnace room
Okay.
talk. Okay, while going upstairs, we want to talk about the dryer vent and how to maintain that, and the most important thing that people also neglect, the lint.
I had a situation yesterday actually where I was doing a pre-list inspection, and I do the outside of the house first, and I always check the dryer vent, the exhaust, and it was completely plugged. So that is preventing the dryer from running at its optimal state, because the air that's sucked into the dryer that's heated can now not exhaust properly. It gets very hot. There's a chance that it can catch fire. Dryer fires are quite common, and it's usually caused by lint buildup in the dryer lines.
Yeah, I was going to say the line being blocked for efficiency is not good, but it's also not good for fire hazards.
Right.
Because it will catch fire.
Like generally, if it's completely blocked, your clothes will not dry in the cycle that it's supposed to. So your dryer is now running longer, so it's wearing out faster, but it's also under pressure, so it's potentially can break down a lot easier.
So I know one way to clean the lint trap is just opening up and doing this one. As you can see,
Yes.
there's some lint in here, but I guess the other one would be
Outside.
outside, but that you would have to get somebody to just vacuum it out. Right?
You can do it yourself if it's accessible. Like I said, the one I did was ground level. I
Okay.
opened it up and I pulled
Everything out.
a whole bunch of lint out of it. And I did advise the seller that he probably needs to have it checked and cleaned out completely.
Perfect. So that's, I'll just leave it here, but that's one way to.
And that should be cleaned out after every load.
Yes. Okay, now I think we'll head up. Okay, next up is the kitchen and the heart of the house. But what does Tim look for when he comes here for his inspections?
So in the kitchen, I'm basically looking at the appliances, checking they're okay, checking for leaks in the dishwasher, making sure the stove's working, etc. But plumbing and the electrical. So houses built after 2004 will have ground fault circuit interrupters at the sink. So the outlets here. So this outlet and this outlet are ground fault circuit interrupters. So I want to make sure they're in working order. So I press the test button on this, that should click off. All right, so we know that the GFCIs are working. The GFCIs are basically to protect you from water and electricity getting together, especially if your hand's in the water.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm also going to be checking for, I'll run the tap, I'll check to make sure it's not loose, etc., etc. Always looking for plumbing leaks under sinks, around toilets, etc. Dishwasher, drain hose. Ideally, this should be clamped up high because there's always potential if the sink is slightly plugged, or sorry, if the drain line is slightly plugged, water can flow back into the dishwasher and now contaminate your clean plates, the coli or whatever the case may be. Checking the plumbing, making sure there's no leaks. And that's pretty well it for that.
For the kitchen, and the important thing is the GFI is working, no plumbing leaks, your dishwasher is not leaking, and
Yes.
we don't check if it's working properly. You do check the appliances by just operating them, but
Yeah,
not
like the basic
mechanical
tests,
issues.
making sure the oven's working, etc. We're not checking the temperature is correct on the oven or anything like that, but we want to make sure everything's in working order for when the client takes possession.
And do you take any pictures or serial numbers of the appliances in
I
the
take
report?
serial numbers of, I take the make and the serial number of the appliances, yes.
Okay.
That's just for protection for both sides. Basically, there were scenarios where there were swap outs,
Yes.
where appliances would be changed for cheaper appliances when the seller moved out. But there's also the situation where, say, your clients have seen 15, 20 houses, and they buy the one house that has the same appliances, but they have appliances in their head
That the
that another
That's
house
all.
may have had, because
Yeah.
there's a 60-day transition and you forget things.
Yeah, and there's a lot happening when you're buying or selling, I guess, but
Yeah.
there's way too many emotions and you're all over the place. So I guess documenting everything, like even on my end, we document literally everything that way. They know what's happening and they're well aware of the
Yeah,
facts.
exactly.
But when you do the inspection report, this is part of your inspection final report that they get. All the serial numbers and the model numbers are in there.
Yes.
Perfect. We'll walk into the living room and talk about the smoke detectors and what to look for and how to maintain them. So I know, well, I'll let you talk about it actually, not me.
Okay, so smoke and carbon monoxide detectors should be on every floor. Smoke detectors should be on every floor. Carbon monoxide detectors should be on all sleeping floors. Today's code is smoke and carbon monoxide detectors in each room, bedroom,
Okay.
and the floors, each floor. But we also check the age of the units, because a smoke detector more than 10 years old
This one right here.
needs to be replaced. So this is replaced next year, 2025.
Yes.
Okay. This is a hardwired unit, so it would have to be replaced with the same.
Yes.
And ideally, I just say, just buy the combination smoke and carbon monoxide detectors.
I mean, you're changing it, you might as well do.
Yeah, you're doing an upgrade,
And
and
it's for
it's for safety.
It's for your own safety.
Exactly.
Right. So that's important. And should they be testing him every 6 months to a year?
They are
or-
supposed to test them again, ideally monthly.
Okay.
Nobody does.
Yes.
So at least once a year, if there's batteries in these units, You're changing out the battery. Usually it's an October thing. The fire department starts mentioning it on the radio, the TV, etc., etc. And yes, please go ahead and do it.
Perfect. Okay, so now we're in the master bedroom talking about one of the important tools that the home inspector would use to see any, I would say, moisture and difference in temperature on different floors.
Yes. So basically what I do is I scan the ceilings with this infrared camera to look for any abnormalities, i.e. missing insulation, chance of pests, mice in the attic, leaks from plumbing or from a roof.
Perfect. And talk about a little bit of what you see and how you know there is something wrong or there is a different temperature.
Well, I'm hoping there won't be anything wrong here, but
hopefully not.
So what I do is I'm scanning the ceiling and I'm looking for any differences, anything that stands out that would be wrong. This camera is a very sensitive device. So far I do not see any abnormalities. There's some cold spots, which is possibly mouse related, but it's along a truss, so it could be just a gap in the insulation when they either blew in the insulation or they put the bats in. But this camera is actually very sensitive, and if I can give you an example, I will just put my hand on the wall for a few seconds, and hopefully this works, and there is my handprint. And that'll remain there until the temperature of the drywall changes back to what it's supposed to be. So that's how sensitive this device is. So as you can see by looking outside, it's nice and dark, and that's basically what I'm looking for up in the attics, is any differences in temperature, major changes. People say, oh look, you can see through the wall. You're not actually looking through the wall. You're seeing
just the temperature.
Just the temperature changes. And again, you can still see my handprint is still there. So any spots where, actually this is insulated pretty good.
And are you able to see any moisture leaks from this, or
yes,
is the moisture meter a better tool compared to the camera?
I use them hand in hand.
Okay.
So if I see any abnormalities with the camera, then I will follow up with the moisture meter to determine if it is in fact moisture as opposed to a void in the insulation in the attic or something like that.
Okay, because I know typically when we do detached houses in the basement, that's typically the most important question
yes.
people have. Well, firstly, does it smell like of moisture?
Yeah.
And then check the camera, check the moisture meter. But even after you do all of this, there's no guarantee, right? Because we, of course, can't open and see behind the wall.
And we can't predict the future.
Yes.
Right. So we can potentially see a chance of, like, if the grading is incorrect, or as we were talking about the downspouts, that's a potential for a leak. Doesn't mean it's happening today, but it can happen in the future. Yeah. So it's all about preventative. You want to make sure everything is the way it's supposed to be to prevent water getting into the basement.
Perfect. And so I guess you would just check that camera throughout the
whole I would
floor,
scan the
right?
whole ceiling looking for...
But the concept is that if there's any big abnormalities, then you would work on that and then report on that.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And the last thing we check on the main floor, or I guess the top floor, would be the attic.
Correct.
And why would one be concerned about that?
Again, we're looking for potential leaks from the roof. We're looking for any structural issues, i.e. broken trusses, joists, whatever the case may be. The condition of the insulation. Is there enough insulation? Has there been mice in the attic, or are there mice in the attic, or something larger, like a raccoon? The type of insulation, again, if it's pre-1980, there's always a chance of asbestos.
Okay.
All right.
And should people go in and take a look at it, or just peek up and...
They should just peek up. Ideally, I don't tell people to walk in their attic, because today's insulation in an attic can be anywhere from 15 to 22 inches thick. So now you're basically walking through snow,
Not
but you
knowing.
have to step on the trusses or the joists, the roof joists. Otherwise, your feet are going to be coming through the ceiling because it's just drywall that you'll be standing on. So it's very weak.
That's not fun.
No.
No. And how do I guess rats or mice or raccoons and all these unwanted species in our roof, how do they get in there?
Mice can actually climb up the outside brickwork.
Okay.
Squirrels, raccoons, any trees close by or adjoining property that they can come from, there's always a chance. Trees are the big thing because if the tree is too close to the house, they can jump or they can just walk across the tree and climb on the roof. And then raccoons especially, they know it's nice and warm and dry inside, so they will rip up your shingles and dig through your roof decking to try to get in.
You can get through the plywood.
They can get through the plywood.
Interesting.
They're strong.
Interesting.
Yes.
I have one more area of the house to show you and talk about before we end off. So let's go down.
Okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the exterior spaces of the house and what should one look for when they do have a deck or an exterior, I guess, balcony or terrace.
Right. Okay. So basically, in this situation, I'm looking to make sure the railings are safe. I'm looking at the condition of the wood. But also, in a situation like this, there's a waterproof asphalt membrane underneath. So over the years, dirt will build up, and there's drainage, that you want to make sure is clear, because over time, dirt, dust builds up, leaves, and it clogs what's called the scrubber, which is like a part of the downspout. So you want to always look under the deck to make sure there's not too much buildup, and you want to make sure that scrubber is clear. Ideally, in situations, maybe not this one, but there are certain decks, balconies, where you can lift the wooden structure because it's pieces, and then you can sweep or clean out underneath it just to make sure. Because if all that material builds up, it stays moist, and then potentially can rot your wood or cause leakage.
Basically, the square ones, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like the square ones that just lift up. They're usually wood or a composite material. Situation like this, it's a lot harder to do, but you can still at least look, even with a flashlight, down between to see the condition of the membrane below.
Is there a way to maintain it or precautionary things that people should do?
Maintaining, you want to make sure that scrubber is clear, because any water, like right now, does flow out towards the scrubber and down the way it's supposed to.
And while we were talking, I was just thinking, so windows, what's one way that people should look at the windows or any maintenance?
So from an exterior point of view, you want to check the condition of the window, the caulking around the windows on the exterior, because you want to make sure the caulking is in good condition.
Interior and exterior?
Mostly exterior. Interior, I mean, yes, but there's not usually caulking on the inside. Sometimes there is. But exterior, because you don't want moisture or air infiltration to get inside that wall, because that can potentially rot the structure.
Okay. And otherwise, as far as the exterior caulking goes on the windows, or I guess even doors and stuff, how often should people replace
5 to 10 years. It depends. Like 10 years, I've seen caulking still in excellent condition. It all depends on the elements outside. If the sun's hitting it on a regular basis, it will deteriorate faster.
Okay. And I've been in the business for about a decade now, and you and I have been working together for a decade. And the odd chances when you're busy and I need an inspection and I call you on a thing, I need an inspection now. And you're like, well, I can't. So then you refer me very kindly to somebody else that you do
Yes.
know that you trust, and then I trust them because I trust you.
Right.
I'm sure you've been in the business for more than a decade.
Yes.
Over the past, I don't know how many years that you've been in the business. Any interesting stories that you have encountered that we can share?
I can't think of anything in particular, but I've always had situations where people will see, they'll walk up to the house, say a two-story, not particularly this situation because it's three-story, and you can visually see the condition of the roof. And it looks fantastic. You know, the shingles are maybe 10, 12 years old. But that's the north side. The south side is always more, there's always more of a chance that the condition of the shingles has deteriorated. And I've had situations where the north side is beautiful, you go around to the south side and it should have been replaced last year,
Okay.
kind of thing. So situations like that.
So the grass is not greener on the other side.
Exactly,
south
yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And in the industry that we're in, real estate, and there's a lot that happens, and there's, I'm sure, a lot of people that you interact with and that I interact with as well. But I think the beauty that why you and I and Mr. Ramon and our team that we work with, it's that you do a phenomenal job even with our clients when you're doing an inspection. You engage them in a way that they feel like they're part of the inspection.
Yes.
They ask you the question that they wouldn't ask you because you make them feel comfortable, which you think
Correct.
is a very, I guess, great skill, but it's an art, right? Because you've been in it for so long.
Yes.
You know that when people are purchasing, it's a very emotional but also stressful time.
Yes, it
Right.
is. So I engage my clients. I make them feel as comfortable as possible. And I do ask them on a regular basis, you know, do you have any questions? Even if you think it's a stupid question, please ask. And I say, you know, I'm not going to laugh at you now, but I may laugh later on when I'm with some friends, you know, just talking about inspections. So please just ask. That's the most important
That's
thing.
okay. You can laugh, but as long as they have the answer, so they're comfortable
Exactly.
and content with
Yeah.
the purchase, right? Because
Yeah.
that's the most important thing when we are dealing with them. But on the point of questions, I know that some of my clients, or I'm sure some of your own clients too, where they'll just call you 4 or 5 years, even after the inspection,
Yes.
and you still pick up the phone and you answer the phone, which is a beauty because
I honor it.
not very common in the industry. Because again, we all get busy, and then 5 years, 6 years down the road, you might have forgotten, right?
Yeah.
So you gotta pull the file back out and
Yeah.
see what was in there.
And that's the bonus of the software we use now is it's in the cloud.
Okay.
So all the digital inspections, if I did one in 2017, I can pull it up like that. And we can discuss whatever the issue is at hand.
25 years before, I guess, from now. So when Tim was much younger, would you have, or would you choose this career, or I guess this path again?
100%.
And
I
that's-
love what I do, and I love meeting new people. It's not a desk job,
Yeah.
right? Like I'm in crawl spaces. I was in a crawl space. You want a funny story? I was in a crawl space last Saturday, and the crawl space was maybe 18 to 24 inches tall.
I think I saw your story.
Yes.
Yes.
So
Go
I
ahead.
went in the crawl space, did my job. I left it to last because I'd forgotten my coveralls.
Yes.
And it was very dusty and dirty. I got in my vehicle. I pushed start on my vehicle. It said key fob not detected. I had to go back into the crawl space. 45 minutes later, I found my keys.
Yeah, that's not fun.
And the next day, I got in my vehicle and I rolled down the windows, got on the highway, and all the dust in my vehicle from where I got in was just flying. It was just unbelievable.
That's the beauty of being in the business. and
It's
being a home
it's
inspector.
yeah, and you know what? You laugh at these things.
Yeah.
It is what it is, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still feeling the pain for it a week later, but I'm also a lot older now. So, but yeah, that's the one recent story.
So it's
that
safe to
was-
say that you really enjoy, and we see that when we interact with you, when we do home inspections, right?
Yeah.
We see that, and it's a pleasure always.
Yeah. Dads. like you always have the young couple and the dad's coming along and he's, right? By the end of I'd say pretty well every inspection that the dad's attended, he's shaking my hand and he's saying, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And that makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Because at the start, you can see.
He's being a dad, right?
He's being a dad, and I'm a dad, so I can relate.
For the right reasons, he's being a dad, but that's where I guess the beauty is, right? You're making them feel comfortable, but also giving them the information, knowledge that they need to make a right decision. If people want to get a hold of you for their own inspection or for any questions or for anything, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
I'm on Google me. I'm on the internet. My phone number, 905-244-5850, or email tim@lighthouseinspections.com.
Perfect. Another episode of the Lodhi Roundup has come to its end. I'm hoping, or we're hoping, that you enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please share it with a friend, family member, coworker. That way they can also get some more knowledge about house inspections and just be more knowledgeable about the real estate industry in general. See you next time.